Hi guys, welcome to chapter 1 of the level 3 Google Ads course. Now this chapter is all about ecom, so if this is relevant to you, either you have clients who operate in this space or you have your own store, this is going to be super important. We're going to go over how to structure the sort of whole Google Ads account as a whole and the different sort of campaign mixes that you're going to want to run based on the amount of budget you've got. Look out for the one that suits you, and I highly recommend kind of watching them all anyway, so you can get some ideas about what's to come and the sort of things you can do in the future. So without further ado, let's jump into the intro slide here. And when it comes to ecom businesses, we really want to take a bottom-up approach and ensure that that budget is being spent as efficiently as possible and that we're able to get a return on our investment as soon as possible. With that in mind, obviously we want to focus on driving conversions immediately, and that means we need to focus all of our attention on our lower funnel audiences. So that's your warm and your hot audiences, and I'm going to use cold audiences interchangeably in this as well. So when I say cold, I'm also referring to people who are in market for your particular product but haven't heard of your brand before. So they're in the consideration phase. I would say they are warm and cold at the same time, depending on the type of funnel you're using. But just remember that any audience I'm suggesting in this, they fall into the consideration, so in market for the sort of products you're offering already, or conversion and are ready to buy your product already, or a competitor's product. So a quick one on the strategy here. To build or scale an ecom brand, we need to focus on bringing in cold in-market traffic, so that consideration phase, and concentrate our spend at lower funnel audiences. ROAS will be used as a barometer for each campaign type, however, will not be used to determine absolute success. Now that's really key here. ROAS looks great. If you're driving a lot of brand traffic, congratulations, you're hitting a 500-600% ROAS. But that doesn't mean you are able to scale your brand effectively, and the top line numbers may look great on the platform, but when you go back end in your Shopify account or wherever it is, you're not actually seeing those number of sales increase. So that's where we have other metrics we need to look at, such as your CAC and your MER. With Google's struggling attribution, we need to measure results from a top line level by understanding our customer acquisition cost and our media efficiency ratio. So our CAC is the cost related to acquiring a customer, and our media efficiency ratio is the total revenue divided by the total media spend. If there are $10,000 in sales and your total media cost was $1,000, then the media efficiency ratio is a 10. So there's some important numbers you'll want to be tracking along the way, as they kind of cut through the bullshit a little bit and will let you determine whether these campaigns are truly being successful or not. And it's important to remember that at this stage, Google attribution is not great. It does miss a lot as well. So hopefully that gets better as time goes on, and we can have to rely on these things like CAC and MER less and less. But as a general rule for good practice for any business, you should be looking at those numbers anyway. And they've got a couple of requirements here. The first is obviously conversion tracking, and you need to have dynamic remarketing set up. There is also a dynamic remarketing video in this level 3, so go and check that out if you haven't already, and if you haven't set up your dynamic remarketing. You need to have your product feed set up, approved and running. DM me in the Discord or drop me a message in the community if you want a checklist of things to ensure that your GMC does not get suspended. I can forward that on. It should also be available in the Google Shopping section in level 2, so go and check that out. You'll be able to download it there. Display, video and text-based assets. Video is not essential, but it's a nice to have if you do and if you can, especially when you start spending a little bit more money. And finally, GA4 or ideally some sort of third-party attribution, Northbeam or Triple Whale, one of those would be best if you are running in one of the higher budget sections. Highly recommend you have that in place. If you're just starting out, then don't worry about it too much, but it's definitely something that you should be thinking about in the future. You can always come and ask myself about that as well, and I will perhaps do a module in the future about that too. Like I said, we need to focus on cold and hot audiences, so the consideration and the conversion audiences, and we can best do that by focusing on these 4 campaigns. Now, I will also caveat, I'll put YouTube in there as well, but only for the more advanced users, so we'll come on to that later. So the approach for Performance Max, in this instance, will be taking advantage of Google's kind of over attribution. At the moment, Google wants Performance Max to be responsible for everything. So it means it over attributes a lot of the conversions. So we're going to kind of use that to our advantage here with this strategy. And how we're going to do that is by pushing the campaign to deliver across kind of dynamic remarketing and more specifically kind of brand search and occasionally competitor search campaigns. So more on that to come. Standard shopping, so this will be the driving force behind product exposure and will be used to steer our PMAX campaign for remarketing and basically getting those warm audiences to convert. So standard shopping is, you can look at it as like our cold line, and we use the standard shopping and the search line to sort of steer the PMAX ship, if that makes sense. Search will be used in conjunction with shopping to build maximum dominance for high intent keywords across the search results. So again, it's for kind of steering the ship a little bit. We will expect sacrifices in ROAS across standard shopping and search, but that's okay provided our MER is increasing and our customer base is growing. And lastly, display is another one we'll be focusing on, and an active product feed and correct tag setup will allow for dynamic remarketing capabilities across GDN. Dynamic remarketing is used to re-engage users who previously viewed your products, as I'm sure you're aware. That will be really important for us. I don't like display from a cold aspect. I wouldn't run too many prospecting campaigns with it. There's a lot of clicks, a lot of cheap traffic, but it's a debate whether it's good enough quality or not. Very circumstantial. So I'll leave that decision up to you. But for this, we'll be focusing on display from a dynamic remarketing perspective only. Like I said in the intro, I've kind of split this out across 3 scenarios. They are split out into sort of anyone spending up to £1,000 a month. That's scenario 1 that we'll go through, and we've got a couple options in there. So this scenario is really focused on the small accounts. I would kind of recommend spending at least $500 if you can. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to get sort of tangible results here. Secondly to that, I would recommend running it for at least 3 months. I know it's a bit of a stretch for some people to commit that kind of spend, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the results after 3 months, and if you let it do its thing and we make the right optimizations along the way. So I think if you can commit at least to $500 a month for 3 months, it will set you in good stead, and you will almost certainly see results off the back of it anyway, and there'll be improvements to be made, and you will be able to make it profitable over those 3 months, I'm sure of it. It's also crucial that we don't overcomplicate things if you've got this kind of budget to spend. I see too many people having 5 or 6 different campaigns running, and it gets overcomplicated and budgets spread too thinly. The focus of this is to not do that and to really hone in on a really simplified, effective approach. Second scenario is up to $5,000 per month. So anywhere really between $1,000 and $5,000 per month. If you're spending in that range, then I recommend you look at these kind of campaign structures. At this level of investment, we can assume that you're already generating sales through other means, whether it's organic or Facebook or wherever it may be. And it's likely you have some form of brand traffic coming in already. However, in order to scale, we will need to control the level of spend across those brand and remarketing lines and focus spend on cold, again, consideration audiences, even if it means sacrificing ROAS, big one there. So yes, you may not be getting a 15% ROAS anymore, but that's okay because your business is growing, and it won't if you just spend across your brand lines. And lastly, the third scenario is for anyone sort of spending £5,000 or more per month. Now, this is really for established accounts with existing conversion data who are kind of looking to scale their business already. At this level of investment, almost certainly be scale across brand lines. I'd be very surprised if there's not. This will need to be managed. And this is where it becomes really, really important that you're measuring and understanding your CAC and your MER. A third-party attribution tool is a must, in my opinion, at this kind of budget and beyond. If you're not, then you're leaving a lot of insights on the table. And once again, the focus here will be on prioritizing that cold traffic and ensure we have full control over our brand and remarketing lines where possible. It's easy if you've got a lot of organic traffic coming in just to kind of get in front of it and claim the attribution for it. That's not what we want to do with this. We want to grow the business and grow the brand. I will split all 3 of these videos, all 3 of these scenarios into 3 different videos. So up next is the $1,000 per month scenario. So see you in the next video.